All right, everyone, we are half past the hour, and my mom always taught me to be punctual, so we're going to go ahead and get started. As those of you who are coming in just now, I'm going to put a link in the chat window one final time. This is a link that is a agent compliance quiz that you can take. It takes 5 minutes or so, 10 questions. All agents who participate in this will be entered into a drawing for credit in the EXP brand store. So if you've got a few extra minutes, once we wrap up here today or sometime throughout the day, go ahead and take that and participate in that. It's a fun little quiz to kind of test your knowledge of our policies and procedures, as well as a way to get to know our agent compliance team. So with that, I just want to say welcome to everyone. If you're looking for the breakout session, protecting your business, you're in the right place. If you're not, we're going to lock the doors and you're going to be stuck with us for the next 45 minutes anyway. Speaking of those next 45 minutes, we have a packed program. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We decided as an agent compliance team that a panel discussion with some of our awesome EXP experts would be a perfect way to share a ton of great information with you in a more interactive and entertaining format. So our intention is to use this panel discussion to help you understand the importance of operating your real estate activities in a compliant manner, growing a great revenue share organization according to our guidelines, learning the risks of non-compliance, and finally empowering you with the knowledge and resources that are available to help you run and grow your business safely. So with that, let's go ahead and get to know our panelists. And I'd like for each of our panelists who are joining us today to introduce themselves. We want you to know that we're here to serve you, both as an agent compliance team, as agent leaders. So let's go ahead and kind of meet our panel, get to know them. I'm going to start with our Chief Legal Eagle, Jim Bramble. Jim, could you introduce yourself to our audience today?
Yes, thanks, Boyd. Yeah, so as Boyd said, I'm Jim Bramble, and I serve as the General Counsel for EXP World Holdings. And I work really directly, mostly with the legal team and the agent compliance team, but also as a member of the executive management team, planning for the company and a lot of market expansion. I've been, well, I guess I first was introduced to EXP 2 years ago this month. And that process, I kind of fell in love with it immediately, and that process led to me joining a couple months later. So I'm approaching 2 years, and definitely love everything about working here.
Great, thank you, Jim. Up next, we have Corey Haggard. Corey?
Hey everybody, I am Corey. I have been with EXP just over a year. Before coming to this company, helped run a compliance team for a multi-level marketing company. Some of you may have heard of it, called USANA. They sold vitamins, and I did that for almost 7 years. And then I actually had the opportunity to work with Jim at that company. And when I heard how awesome EXP was and saw that there was an opening, I decided to apply and come on board. And I've absolutely loved every single day of working here. I've got an amazing team. Working with the agents has been just absolute game changer in my life. I love getting to meet amazing agents from all over the country and now globally. So it's been a great transition, and I've absolutely loved my role here at EXP. I work with Cindy and Shani, who will have the opportunity to introduce themselves today, and with Boyd directly. And as Don and a couple others have put in, I've had a great opportunity to forge relationships with some of our amazing agents. So that's a little bit about me. Great to be here with all of you.
Awesome. And did Shani have a chance to make it in yet?
Not yet. Her world's still loading. So
all right. Why don't, Corey, if you could take just a moment to introduce Shani, and when she joins us, we'll have her, introduce herself. But why don't you tell the audience about her?
Yep. Yeah, so Shani was the first employee that I hired onto the team, and she's been an absolute just foundational piece to what this team has become today. She's extremely knowledgeable. She has been a broker, I believe, in North Carolina, and is also licensed in Mississippi. She's one of the hardest, most diligent workers I've ever had the opportunity and employees to work with. She's always up bright and early and late, burning the midnight oil, so to speak, just responding to emails and getting back to agents. She has a great focus on the agent experience, and even when it pertains to doing investigations, which sometimes can be hard to deliver that customer service when you're in such a high tense situation, but she just done an amazing job. Extremely knowledgeable and really approachable. So I'm very proud and lucky to have her on my team.
Awesome, thanks for that. All right, up next is the newest addition to our team, Cindy Hanks. Cindy, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody. I am Cindy Hanks. I am new here. Like Boyd said, I've been here for a little over a month. I came here from a really large public school district. I worked in the general counsel's office there as a paralegal, and we did investigations and compliance there. I was a paralegal in many other operations and legal settings prior to that, as well as being a North Carolina real estate broker. So I have both knowledge of the real estate and the compliance background. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Cindy. All right, up next is the first of two amazing agents on our panel, Allison Gaddy. Allison, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I am really excited to be here today with you. And I have been with EXP for 5 years, a little over 5 years. I was agent 641, I like to say. So I've seen this company grow and just love everything about the leadership and everything you guys are doing. I've been in real estate for 15 years and was a broker in Illinois. Been back in Austin, Texas, where I have a growing team. And I live between Austin and Puerto Rico. I also have grown a rev share organization with my partner, Don Hobbs, who's in the audience, to about almost 700 people. And so happy to be here and contribute and answer questions.
Great, thank you. And last but not least is the man himself, Bob Mangold. Bob.
Hey guys, we're glad to see you here. I'm actually shocked 153 people in for compliance. That's pretty cool. So my name is Bob Mangold. I'm actually licensed in California. I've been doing this for longer than I want to admit, because then you'd know how old I was. But we've been with EXP for 4.5 years, and we've personally sponsored 84 agents. 57 are still here. That's just a fact of life, and I think it's important to let people know that. And our rev share group's about I think it was 652 this morning. So, good sized little group, but I like to think that we've been through a lot, and we've gone through that. Unfortunately, I know I'm in Corey's cell phone as PETA, not as Bob Mangold, because I call him a lot, and that's so I appreciate their help and support in all the things they do. So hopefully I can shed some light on, some of the things to keep everybody in compliance.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. And, I share your enthusiasm, as we do have a good number of people here today, and I'm pleasantly surprised. It's awesome. It's never easy to motivate people to, attend trainings regarding compliance, but I think part of that is the fact that we've got a great panel here today. So real quick, I'm the host, I'm the moderator, I'm BoydBastian. I'm the Director of Agent Compliance Education. I just started just over a year ago here with eXp Realty. My job is to create, educational content, give information related to our policies and procedures, the ICA Agent Attraction Pledge, and really just enjoyed doing that. So now that you know our panelists, and I don't think I saw Shani come in, so she'll join us when it's possible. Before we get into things, we have an award presentation to make. In 2020, we introduced a new recognition called the eXp Ethics in Action Award. This is an award that we give out on a quarterly basis. You may have seen some posts in Workplace, but we also have an annual recipient. Now, this is an accolade that we present to the eXp agent that most exemplifies a pattern of exceptional behavior related to our core values, adherence to the policies and procedures, and so on. And so our original intention when we created this award was to have this as part of the eXpCon Awards Gala, give our winner their deserved recognition in that proper setting. But obviously, with the challenges that we've experienced this year, we've had to kind of adjust on the fly, move the venue to this virtual breakout session. Nevertheless, we'd like to make an announcement today for our annual winner. And I'd really like to thank, first of all, our agents who submitted so many great nominations, made it really hard for the award selection committee to choose just one person to recognize. But the winner that we have chosen from numerous nominations that we received during the past few months, I'd like to announce, and I'm going to give a little drum roll here and advance this slide. Our winner for 2020 is none other than Lou Ronayne. So congratulations, Lou. And before I give you a moment to speak, I'd ask you to come up on stage to join us. I'd like to share a quote as he's coming up. This is an excerpt from one of the nominations we received about Lou, and it says this, quote, "I have known Lou for over 20 years. He consistently teaches his team, and especially newer agents, the code of ethics. His work ethics are the best I've ever seen in this business. He always teaches his team members how to be their best. He strives for the best business practices and professionalism. He's a great mentor and advocate with regards to business ethics," end quote. This was just one of many nominations we received that cited his incredible leadership qualities and his business ethics. So congratulations, Lou. It's an honor to have you with us here today. Would you mind taking a few moments to share your thoughts on what it means to put ethics into action in your daily work as an EXP agent?
Thank you. Sure, I'd love to. I wrote them down so I wouldn't mess it up real quick, and I'll be quick, but I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm very humbled and grateful to accept this award on behalf of all of our agents who live by our core value, integrity, doing the right thing. My journey with EXP Realty started with a phone call 5 years ago from Gene Frederick, who was at the airport heading to Washington to meet Glenn and Jason. Lucky for me, the next call from Gene was, "I have found the best real estate company model and I'm joining, but I'm not joining without you." I was joining number 877. It's funny how we all like to think back at that, but that's how we identify ourselves. It was an easy decision because Gene and Susan had been my wife Debbie and my very close friends for over 13 years, and I trusted them because of their integrity. Next, I got the chance to meet Jason Gessing in Saginaw, Michigan, when Gene flew in with Jason to launch EXP in Michigan. That was over 4 years ago. And I always look at Jason as the culture keeper of this company. It was kind of funny back then, and it's important for people to understand, I think, from an agent perspective. Jason saw me 2 years ago. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing great." I said, "I'm just staying under the radar." He said, "We don't want you to do that." And I have to laugh because I guess today, sitting on stage where I never planned on, they found me. And what I meant, and I never expanded to Jason on, was that all of us have an obligation to be leaders, and we don't all have to be on stage. We don't have to be part of the unbelievable leadership team that we have with this company. We can all lead every day as we're doing our business. And so with that, that's how I've tried to, live my life and expand and grow EXP. So with everybody in the audience, I'd like to make a quick challenge and do a gut check with you by answering a couple questions. Do you treat other agents with respect and professionalism? If the answer is yes, then you'll be successful with EXP in building a powerful revenue share group. My wife, Debbie, does this every day, and she's somebody I look up to for the way she treats other agents. She goes as far as asking every agent, "Are you working with somebody?" when they call on one of our listings. One time the person said yes. She says, "Well, then you need to see the house with that person." Didn't even flinch an eye when she came back, wrote an offer, and sold that house for $800,000. It's not about money. It's about doing the right thing. And my wife does that every day, and I'm proud of her. Second, what do your clients say about you? If the answer is positive experience, then you'll have a strong referral-based business in real estate. 3, when talking to an agent and they say, "I am already in discussions with an EXP agent," what do you do? If you follow what Brent Gove and James teach, you would say, "That's great. Encourage them to name that person as their sponsor." You'll always have integrity in the way you do your business if you always do the right thing and making sure the right person's named as a sponsor. That is more important than anything else we can do at EXP. When you say something or hear something bad about an EXP agent, what do? I would encourage you to talk to the agent, and if needed, talk to your state leadership team. We're very fortunate in Michigan to have Cheryl, Scott, Brian, Lisa, and Michelle who do an exceptional job every day for us. Additionally, we're fortunate to have Corey and Shani. I've personally dealt with them, and they handle things confidentially and with high integrity and with real concern to make sure that they get whatever issue resolved. Fifth and last, how do you treat our staff? For me, I always say in the conversation, I always end it, "I appreciate what you do for us." They're unbelievable, our staff in this company. With our massive growth, they're always professional and they're always doing the right thing. So finally, I want to end with the beginning with EXP and want to reflect on excuse me. I even get nervous. I'm in a virtual world. Finally, I want to end with the beginning of EXP. The reflection of Glenn Sanford's integrity and desire for all agents to have an equal opportunity to be shareholders. His vision was on display again yesterday with the announcement of the acquisition of Success Media and the appointment of Don Hobbs as its president. The common theme with Success and the people that have been highlighted in Success is their integrity. Jim Rohn was quoted during that presentation yesterday. Success is not so much what he has as it is what we are. And so what we are is our integrity. And I challenge everybody to continue to live an inspired life, but also to live a life of integrity. DeWitt Jones ended it yesterday. Just a phenomenal keynote yesterday. I was moved so much by him, but he encouraged us to focus on what is right in his inspirational keynote address. Yesterday for me, that is to do the right thing every day and surround yourself with ethical people like I have been fortunate enough to be in business with my RevShare group. So many of them I can't even name, but to be able to live in an ethical way, Boyd, is definitely going to attract the right people that you're going to want to hang out with. So again, I want to thank everybody for this award. I look at it as I'm accepting it on behalf of so many people that are in this company that I know personally that honestly should be getting this award. So thanks.
Well, very well said, Lou. That was awesome. Thank you for that message. Thank you for that challenge. That really goes really perfectly in step with what we'll be talking about throughout the rest of this breakout. So thanks again, and congratulations once again. We love having agents who are leading not only in the way that they approach people and lead people, but in their daily actions and their daily business activities. So thanks once again to you and to all the people who submitted nominations, both for Lou and for any other agent. We have a lot of agents out there who are doing great things. All right, so let's move on. I'm going to start things off here playing a little cheesy game show music, because we're going to play a quick round of the game that's sweeping the nation. It's the biggest pop culture sensation since Sanford and Son. It's sure to keep you guessing, well, at least for a few moments. It's time for our exciting EXP Trivia Challenge. So here are the rules. I'm going to read a question, and the first person to type the correct answer in the chat window, again, the first person to type the correct answer in the chat window will receive a $50 credit in the EXP brand store. So get your keyboards, your laptops, your phones ready, and your fingers warmed up, and make sure your cursor is in the right place. Here's the first question. Question is this: when Glenn Sanford started EXP Realty in 2009, he did so with how many agents? Oh, we've got a bunch coming in. I don't see the right answer just yet, though. Oh, let's see.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. Let's see, who was that?
Connor Russell.
Okay, the correct answer technically is 24. So Connor Russell, congratulations. You are the winner of the first EXP Trivia Challenge. I'm gonna go ahead and note your name down here, and we'll reach out to you to coordinate getting you that credit in the EXP brand store. And don't worry if you didn't answer correctly or first, there'll be a couple more. Don, I swear you said 23. Yeah, I'm scrolling back up and it says 23 next to Don Hobbs.
So close, Ron. So close.
All right. Okay, so now it's time to get serious. So let's talk about ethics in action. Let's talk with our panel members. So before we start this section, if you're an old timer like me, you probably remember the whole Y2K fiasco. Quick reminder, if you don't remember what it was, years ago, computer programmers decided to use 2-digit years instead of 4-digit years, and it made data systems unable to distinguish the difference between the year 1900 and 2000. So as the year 00 approached, there was all sorts of press reports that hyped up the prospects of, impending worldwide doom. The press kind of hyped things up, made it seem like, the whole world is going to come to an end, the zombie apocalypse. And well, it turns out they were 20 years too early, because that year came this year. Just kidding. But actually what happened was most companies were able to recognize the problem. They were able to fix it before the deadline, and get things sorted out. Now, some companies weren't able to do that, and all sorts of shared computer systems needed to be fixed. There were a lot of preventative costs, a lot of kind of after the fact fixing costs. Before I say the number, does anyone care to guess how much it cost us globally to address the whole Y2K issue? Any guesses out there? All right, Norm, 10 million. Well, a little bit more than that. Somebody said billions, that's closer. 10 billion, that's even closer, but a little bit higher. Here's the thing. Okay, 100 billion, that's getting in the neighborhood. So over the course of 7 years, from 1999 to 2006, it's estimated that there was $308 billion spent correcting what seemed to be a relatively small problem. So $308 billion spent globally on a problem that, you'd say, oh, it's 2 digits. Why don't you just make it 4 digits? Well, it wasn't as simple as that. And really, the point of the story is this, as it pertains to what we're going to talk about today. Many things in life require thought and preparation. And as business builders, we need to be cautious and take precautions. We need to be prepared for all possible outcomes. In this analogy, had the programmers taken the time to make the placeholder for years 4 digits rather than 2, they could have prevented a lot of extra work, saved a lot of money, correcting this seemingly small issue. And it's no different when it comes to your eXp Realty business. There's a lot of laws, a lot of regulations, a lot of rules for being a licensee. In addition to that, there's rules that each brokerage has, and eXp Realty is no exception. We've got our own policies and procedures in place. We have agreements like the ICA. There's a lot to know and a lot to keep track of. And so how do you do that? So let's talk about that for a moment. Jim Bramble, you are Chief Legal Counsel of eXp World Holdings. Why did you feel it was important for eXp Realty to have an agent compliance department?
So that's a good question. Actually, interestingly, it was eXp's desire and Glenn's desire to have an agent compliance department that made him first reach out to me. And it's something that I think for companies with a model like this, it's essential, because here we have a business model where agents, they're very good at what they do, right, and selling homes in their area. But now there's this business model where suddenly they have to be compliant with laws, not just in their area, but in other states, because of the rev share. The rev share aspect of the business means that you can have a team that expands to other states or even other nations. And so it gets complicated, right? To try to understand everything you can do everywhere, where you might get in trouble. So we, have the ICA and the policies and procedures to help guide agents, so they know what to do to stay safe everywhere. And the agent compliance department is needed to, help answer questions, educate, and sort of give the guidelines needed, because 99% of the agents want to run an ethical business. They just don't always know how when it gets this complicated. So that's what the agent compliance department is there for, is to help with that.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. We're here to help our agents answer questions, work through difficult situations, support growth. And one of our favorite sayings in the agent compliance department is, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Allison, I want to ask you, what does that mean to you, and how do you put it into action as you run your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that the main thing to remember is that I feel like compliance and doing it right, and making sure that you are acting in integrity, it protects the culture of our company. I think really understanding that when you start attracting agents, that you put yourself in a leadership position. And that means that in doing the right thing, one of the things that we do is I tell our agents, treat it like a listing. Treat the agent that you're talking to. Ask, Ronaine mentioned that, ask them, are you currently talking to another agent? And realize that building a company, you're really building a company with eXp Realty, and it's a long game. It's not just winning one agent in a hurry. And I think that really would go a long way for everybody that's either building a rev share organization or considering building one.
Thank you. And it looks like Shani has joined us. So Shani, what about you?
Hey.
You have a unique experience having been an active realtor and now a full-time compliance officer with eXp Realty. What are your thoughts on preventing potential issues that can harm agents' businesses?
I think one of the biggest things that real estate agents face is having time. And one thing for me that I see on a daily basis is the lack of spending the time to read things. And then it becomes, I'm sorry, how do I fix this? But if agents were to take the time to sit down and read in every aspect of our jobs in real estate or otherwise, I think we would prevent a lot of issues that we see.
Great.
You want me to go on?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I was in the middle of addressing a question in the chat window, but I'll get to that in a moment. Bob, you've been in the game for quite a few years and you've experienced tremendous success. What strategies and tactics have you used to ensure that your actions are compliant as you built your real estate business and your revenue share team?
Probably the best, well, at least best from my perspective. It might not be from Corey's or yours, but there's that old saying about, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Well, I kind of take it the other way. We have too much to risk in this, right? Both the stock on a personal level, but the stock for all of us. So if one of us goes out and does something that's completely crazy and it affects the stock, well, it affects every agent in the company. So we have to look at that responsibility. That's a bigger thing than just us, right? And then secondly, for your rev share group, it's doing things in the right manner so that you basically lead by example. But for me, I would rather call and ask the brokers. I would rather call and bug you and Corey and make sure that we do stuff right. Like we're about to release a website for our agents. Well, before I release it, I'm going to have you guys look at it. So it's the easiest thing. We make any corrections before we do something instead of waiting for something to happen. And then it's, the horse is out of the barn. So I just think it's better to be, go in and get that permission, if you will, or have other people look at it and make sure you're doing it the right way, because the responsibility is bigger than just us, right? So we have that responsibility to all 38,000 agents to do stuff right so we don't mess up our stock price or our rev share, maintain the integrity of the rev share program, all those things. So to me, it's just easier to make a phone call than it is to screw it up.
That's a great answer. So just to follow up from what you were saying, how has that evolved over time to kind of be more of an ethical decision, like doing the right thing versus simply complying with what the rules state?
I'll be honest, I don't think you can build any substantial revenue share group or do that, because if you're not acting from a place of doing the right thing, you get exposed, right? So listen, I've had it where somebody else went with another agent and it wasn't done in the right way. That happens. But if you don't do it the right way, that old saying about karma, if you start out saying, hey, do the right thing, I'll have agents call me and go, hey, what do you think? Well, my answer is, well, what do you think? And they know the answer for to do the right thing. So you just have to be there to say, well, then that's the right thing. And so some of that leadership starts with that, but you'll never build anything substantial if you're not doing it the right way, if you're not there to support your people, if you don't lead by example, if you allow them to get into trouble, if you will, by doing, whatever, Facebook ads or whatever it might be, that's our responsibility to people, is to put that in place. So long term, I don't think anybody will be real successful if they do it in a manner that's not ethical or doing the right thing, because trust me, it comes around, right? And so just my opinion on it anyway.
That's a great answer. And actually that made me think of something. Jim, you have something on your desk that you look at each day. What does it say on that saying that you have?
Yeah, it's a plaque that I keep on my desk. It's been there for about a decade now, that just says, when in doubt, do the right thing.
It just made me think that when Bob was saying, you know in your gut, usually, what's right and wrong. And compliance, there are rules and they're there to protect you and to protect others. But, it's just kind of a way for us to be able to recognize, what the right thing is and help us kind of stay on that straight and narrow and make sure that we're running our business and growing it free from worry of having it taken away if we're doing something wrong. Corey, given the information that we've talked about, can you share with us what your vision for our agents are in your role as Director of Agent Compliance?
Yeah, when I started in compliance at my previous company, I had a very different view of it. It was more of an internal police type mindset. I've got to go find the bad eggs and get them out. And as I've learned and grown and evolved and become more engrossed in compliance, I've realized, and what I want here at EXP is all agents to be my business partners, right? We're in this boat together. We're all trying to be successful and have success. And I want nothing more than our agents to feel that we're a resource and that we're here to help. We're not a hindrance to their business. We're not trying to put up roadblocks or make it difficult. We're not trying to make them, get them out of the company. That's never, ever our goal. Our goal is to work side by side to help them grow, have sustained growth, and do it in a right way so that we can all have this 20, 30, 40 years down the road and continue to be successful. I want agents to feel that we are here again as a partner. So if there's ever problems that pop up, if there's ever concerns, that they feel comfortable coming to us, asking those questions, as Shani pointed out, that they know where and how and how to interpret policies and where to find them, focusing more on an education role versus a reactive role, we'll say. And I feel like we've started to establish that here at EXP. We have it, and agents are definitely getting on board with this compliance thing. So I'm really excited to see what the future brings. As we roll this out, we do fair investigations and continue to work with agents. I think we're just going to see a fortification of what our core values are and our culture here at EXP. And I think we have a very bright future ahead of us.
Awesome, thanks. Now, turning my attention over to Cindy, you're the new kid on the block, not to be confused with the new kids on the block. She was afraid if I said that she might have to do a dance up here on stage, so she's been practicing all week.
I'm disappointed.
Not unlike many of the agents who are joining us today, you're fairly new to EXP Realty. What's been your approach to not only learning the policies and procedures specific to EXP Realty, but also helping agents to understand how to implement them into their daily work?
Sure. Well, being new to a company can feel intimidating anyway, but when you have coworkers that are helpful, that makes all the difference. And of course, that's what I have found coming to the compliance department. Everybody has been so wonderful in offering assistance when it's needed, which is our role here in the compliance department. So while my function is different than an agent, everybody needs to understand the company's policies and procedures. And I have that real estate and legal background. So for me, learning and understanding the policies may be a little bit different than an agent. That's why we're here, and we want everybody to come to us. We're here to help at any time. So we can help implement the policies and procedures into their businesses.
Great, thank you. It's always great to hear a perspective of somebody just coming on board so recently, and you've done such an awesome job. So, speaking to our audience again, to you as an individual agent, you're an EXP agent, you've built or you're in the process of building something very valuable. You work with your clients, your customers, you're growing your revenue share group, finding ways to earn additional income, and you want to protect what's yours. So our advice is to not let the little things cause big problems. As was mentioned throughout this discussion, build into your daily work checks and balances. Ask yourself those questions. Make it a habit to know what the rules are and then live by those rules. And know simply that there's consequences for not following those rules. Again, we're not here to be, as Corey said, like the internal police or internal affairs. We're here to help you understand those rules, course correct if it's necessary, and learn and access the resources that are available to you. But we don't want you to just follow the rules to avoid penalties. That's important, but we want you to do it because it's the right thing to do. We like to use the term, as up here on the stage, it says ethics in action. So I want to close out this particular section of our panel discussion today by asking Allison, what does it mean to you to put ethics into action into your daily practice?
So I think it's really understanding that it's truly all about relationships. When you're attracting an agent, making sure that you realize it's not just getting people in the door and having them sign up for EXP. That it really starts with with nurturing the relationship. It starts with taking them through a tour, making sure they're onboarded the right way, that they have the things that they need to be successful. And really asking questions, making yourself open. And we do a weekly leadership meeting with our group, which is really valuable. They can ask questions, and you just help to train and to educate agents on the culture of the company, and making sure that they're all acting in integrity as well, and that you're a sounding board for them when they have a question. And I think that's a real important thing that we do.
Thank you so much for that answer. All right, we're going to transition, but first, we'll play a little more cheesy game show music, and you know what that means. We're going to do our EXP Trivia Challenge number 2. So this is a phenomenon that's sure to keep you owning on and on, and whether you're on the right side of white side of things, excuse me, or the wrong side, the same rules apply. I'm going to read a question, and the first person to type the correct answer in the chat window will receive a $50 credit to the EXP brand store. Now, I do want to announce that on our last question, we actually had a correct answer come in before the correct answer that we selected. So we're going to award both of those winners with the $50 credit. And if you won on the first question, you are ineligible for the second one. You're free to answer the question, but you may not want to spoil it for someone else. All right, so here's our second trivia challenge question. Get ready to type. All right. What was the name of the brokerage that Glenn Sanford founded that was later renamed eXp Realty? Oh my goodness. That was quick. All right. Looks like Kelly Baker is our winner. It was Buyer Tours Realty. And I'm going to put a link here in the chat window to a video that you can watch later on, not right now, that actually has Glenn discussing what the name of how the name EXP came about and what the brokerage is called before. So congratulations to, let's see, Kelly Baker, you're the winner. I'm going to take down your information here just to make sure, and we'll move on. All right, so next section that we're going to talk about is talking about agent attraction. Now, I've entitled this section Fatal Attraction for a reason. Now, not to get graphic, we're not here encouraging you to be an axe murderer or a knife murderer. For one reason, I named it Fatal Attraction. It was a fun play on words. I thought it'd be memorable. But two, if it's not done right, it can harm your business, your reputation, and EXP's ability to continue operating as a successful brokerage. So attraction done wrong can be potentially fatal for your business. So keep that in mind as we talk about what we're going to talk about here, which is best practices and prohibited practices for agent attraction. Now, as was mentioned by Allison a moment ago, attraction really comes down to one very important concept, and that's building relationships. So agent attraction is all about creating strong bonds, establishing trust with prospective agents, accurately sharing the benefits, costs, and expectations of joining eXp Realty. And as you do this, whether it takes weeks, months, or even years, you'll put yourself in a position to be successful, add members to your revenue share group, and do that throughout your career with eXp. So I'm going to turn to our panel now. Bob, can you tell us about some of the strategies and tactics you employ to build strong relationships as you attract prospective agents?
So probably the biggest thing that we do is we do education. So we start everything that we do in terms of attraction from education, right? So we don't, I just don't teach anybody to do anything other than teach. And from teach, you can build that relationship. So now we're doing a lot of online classes where we used to do them live. So you adapt, right? But if you start from an education process, teaching them to be better agents, it does a couple things for you. Number one, it filters out the agents who don't want to say necessarily work, right? So I always joke when I recruit, or talk about recruiting, hey, if you find an agent that doesn't do a great job or that you found was unethical, leave them for our competition. Take the agents you do transactions with that do a great job, and let's talk to them and leave the rest for the competitors, right? And so for me, that education is partly filtered, that it allows us to take and pick from the best, or at least pick from the people who are open-minded and then want to do it. And then from that point, then what I would tell you is you need to be a good sponsor, right? So I don't love the word sponsor, I'll be honest with you. It does sound MLM-ish, but nonetheless, I'll use it because, or at least use it here, because if you look up sponsor, they usually use it in the form of AA, right? You're there to be there for them 24/7. Well, the truth is, guys, in my opinion, if you're going to sponsor people and you're going to get paid for it, then you owe them, a certain amount of effort on your part. And if you don't put that in place, right, so you don't walk them through, or you don't do an orientation, or you don't provide value, right? So if you don't do those things, in my opinion, you don't really deserve to get paid. And so the reason I told you we brought 84 to the company, but we have 57 left. We learned that lesson over the years, that you have to provide more value to the agents. Now, sometimes they don't choose to take advantage of it, but that's up to them. You have to be able to look in the mirror and say, listen, I did everything possible to make them successful. And as long as you can look at yourself in the mirror and know that you did everything you can, then you can't tie yourself to the results. But if you're doing it right or wrong. And when you get a new agent, and I don't know how many of you guys have actually gone through the process lately, and you see the number of emails that come in and things that they have to do, if you're not providing help or assistance for that, then that's on you guys. Like we actually train my daughter who does onboarding for our agents. And so when they come in, they spend time with her and she walks them through and gets them connected and answers the questions. That to me is just your responsibility. So whether we call that ethical or not, I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, we have a responsibility when we do this to provide value to them and to be there for them. And if you don't, long term, I just don't think you'll be that successful at it, because it's not just bring them in the door and then, hey, see you, good luck. I mean, you can do that, I suppose, but it's up to us. And so that's one of the things as I see in workplace, I see these comments or whatever. And what I would tell every single person, it starts with you. I don't care what your sponsor does or what somebody else's sponsors do. There's enough of us in the company that do it, that kind of provide a blueprint for you to follow. But ultimately, it's up to each and every one of them. If you're going to accept money for sponsorship, then you should be a good sponsor, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Same question for you, Allison. What about you?
Yeah, so I think really keeping in mind that people join people, they don't join the company. So you're building those relationships, and you've always got to keep that in mind. One of the things we do, just like Bob mentions, we have our director of agent success, our agent success managers. We make sure they have even the basics. I can't believe that this happens sometimes, where people will fill out the application and they've never had a tour of the EXP world. And I say this in the terms of, if you think about, KW or Coldwell, just a traditional broker with bricks and mortar. Can you imagine, talking to somebody in a coffee shop and recruiting them, and then when your meeting's over, you welcome them to the company, and then you point down the street and you say, go find so-and-so, the market center is over there. It's just preposterous. So taking that time and understanding that building those relationships, helping them succeed, guiding them in the door, is again the culture of our company. And also remember that everything that you do when you're attracting them is what they're going to believe about the company, about the right way to attract. So you can either help the company to be better by showing them how we do that, or being shovel them in the door. Just if they feel like a number, then they're not going to stick. And it's not only about attracting the agent, but think about how hard that you work to get them to the company, and the decision that's really a career change in their life. Change is really hard. So, and people do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And when you really consider that and you lead them in the door, you work so hard to get them in, you can lose them in the first 30, 60, 90 days. So keep that in mind. They're just not in the door when they sign that ICA. And that's really a lot of things that we do and talk about a lot in leading our group.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. The relationship that you forge with them is kind of that bedrock foundation, and that can make or break their success and your success as an agent attractor. I know Shani had some thoughts on this. Shani, you want to share your thoughts?
Sure. So just adding on to what Allison said there, I think we see a different aspect of it as well. So we get the aftermath when somebody has maybe picked a sponsor, excuse me, that wasn't ideal for them, or they weren't led correctly. And we have a really hard time telling certain folks that we're sorry that your sponsor basically did say, go down the road, I'm going to go off and attract someone else. But that is our job. And we have really strict policies with that contract because it is legally binding that we have to follow it. So we are having agents leave the company if they feel so strongly about that sponsor change. So I think just making sure that you have the connection with a person, you're doing it the way that it was intended when the company was started is super important. And when you don't know answers, get the answers for folks so that they aren't wanting to leave and come back under someone else.
Yeah, those are some really good points. Jim, a couple of questions for you. What are some best practices agents can follow as they present the opportunity in an accurate manner? And what are some prohibited practices that they should avoid as they're out there telling the EXP story?
That's a great question. So I guess I'll think of that kind of broadly and say, they're really simple truths, like always be truthful, right? Don't be deceptive. And I don't think anybody ever tries to be deceptive, but something to remember is when you're talking to somebody about joining an opportunity and you're telling them the benefits that they can receive, the truth is the benefits that they are likely to receive, as opposed to something that may be true. For example, it may be true that somebody made $2 million in revenue share last year, but it's not a likely occurrence. And so you're not being accurate if that's all you tell them is that they can earn $2 million. So it's important to also, let them know what is likely and what work is needed to earn that. And then just maybe a couple of other things is I would say everyone should get to know these individuals here on the compliance team and, by name and feel comfortable to reach out to them. Because I can't remember, I think it was Allison or maybe Bob talked about not asking for forgiveness instead of permission.
Yeah, it was
in
Bob.
reality, yeah, Bob. And I think that's was a great thing to say, because in truth, there's, we see so many compliance issues and almost none of them are intentional violations, right? People don't want to go out there and break and violate their contract. They just didn't realize that, the way they did it was improper. And so that can be saved by a conversation before, right? If you're going to start a new project or an advertisement and you just don't know if you're doing it right, pick up the phone or get in the world and meet with one of these guys, and you'll avoid a lot of problems. Then maybe the last thing is, I would say, so some of this stuff that seems common sense, like, everyone has sort of hit upon on agent attraction, right? Find out if the individual you're talking to has already been talking to someone else. And if they have, the right thing to do is to encourage them to name that person as sponsor. But I'll tell you, if you wait to make that decision until then, and you really need somebody this week to you're working to unlock another level, that's a hard decision to make. So I think it's maybe symbolic, but it's an important thing to make the decision now. I will ethically, and then you don't have to make the decision then because you already have. So it's no longer a hard decision; it's an easy decision. You're always going to act in an ethical way.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Sense.
Yeah, there are some questions in the chat window. We'll get to those in just a moment. I want to talk about a couple other things, and then we'll get to the Q&A with the remainder of the time that we have. We are supposed to wrap up soon, so we'll kind of cruise through the rest of this. We've talked about building relationships. We've talked about presenting EXP accurately. I just want to touch for just a couple of minutes on interference. Shani, can you provide us with a definition of interference as it relates to agent attraction?
Sure. So interference is, I like to explain it a couple different ways, but basically anytime an agent is engaged with someone else, they've already made contact, they're getting information about EXP, and then someone else, for example, they may cross paths, because a lot of times what we see are prospects reaching out to multiple people or going to different sources for information. And when an agent, the first agent, is in the sidelines, they may be choosing to pick that person. Then we have another agent come along and say, well, don't pick them, pick me. Or you see the prospects going back and forth. So the best way to handle this with interference, in my opinion, is to handle it like a buyer agency agreement, or, you know, exclusive right to sell. That's your client. You don't want another agent out there stealing your client. And the same is true with prospects. And if you've worked really hard and you've spent hours and hours of time with them, you want to make sure that we have the people at the company supporting us, and there are more than enough agents to go around. So simply stating to them, hey, have you been working with anyone? The same way you would with a buyer agency agreement. I mean, you're not just going to jump in your car, drive down the street, and go show a house to anyone that you don't know has an agent, is qualified, so forth. So asking those small questions ahead of time can really help with the interference process here.
And Corey, what are some of the ways that we see agents interfering with one another's attraction efforts?
Right. First, I want to point out that in most cases, agents are doing the right thing. This isn't like a widespread issue that we have at EXP. Yes, things happen. Yes, we do follow up on issues, but I just want to point out that most agents are doing the right thing. I think the fact we have 28 people now in this room shows just how dedicated EXP agents are to being compliant. But a few things that we have seen throughout our investigations. One, I know we've touched on it, a couple of people up here have touched on incentives. So if ever an incentive is offered as a means to persuade somebody to change their initial sponsorship selection, that's a problem. So saying, Boyd, I know you were going to go with Jim, but if you join me, I can give you unlimited coaching, or I can meet with you and help close all your deals, or I can give you yard signs. Anytime an incentive is used as a lever or leverage to get somebody to change their initial mind when they made up their mind is a problem. It should not happen. Another thing that we often see in these investigations is, disparagement. So, don't go with Boyd, go with me, because Boyd only closed 1 transaction last year and I've closed 50 over my career. It's never appropriate, never okay, and a complete violation of our policies and procedures to speak negatively about another EXP agent. But I think more often what agents are, it's more of what they're not doing. And I know we've touched on it a little bit up here, but it's asking the questions if somebody is working with somebody. In a lot of cases, we find that it's not even brought up. And I think Shani brought up a good point that onboarding agents sometimes are working with different groups. They're trying to find out where they're going to fit into this EXP world. They're trying to get multiple opinions on it. And I think agents get so excited when they get a new prospect that sometimes they're forgetting to ask the simple questions of, are you speaking with somebody? And if they say yes, unpack that a little bit. When did you meet with them last? What does that look like? Have you sat down with them? Do you understand what this is? Find out more. And if they are in serious conversations with somebody, do what you would want another agent to do to your prospect and refer them back to who they're working with. I see on a regular basis where an agent gives credit to an upline, and that upline saying, no, I shouldn't be the sponsor, it should be the downline. And so we have agents in this company doing the right thing even when they could financially benefit. And I think that's a testament again to our culture that we have here. But again, I think we can all stop, take a breath, and ask that simple question: are you working with somebody? And if so, what does that look like, and how can you uncover if you need to refer them back? And I think, again, it's just that simple fact-finding question and unpacking it a little bit.
Thanks. Yeah, we're running out of time, so I'm just going to ask a couple more questions for Bob and Allison before we wrap things up. I just wanted to ask, first of all, Allison, what types of things have you encountered or experienced yourself, as you've worked with others? Have you ever had anyone else make an attempt to interfere with your attraction efforts? What are some things that you've seen?
Yeah, so I think one of the things, first of all, when you email and you spam somebody, or you've been in an email relationship with them, if you've never talked to them, if you haven't presented the model, you don't automatically earmark that person as your recruit. And there was a circumstance where that happened in my organization. It wasn't my actual recruit, and the other gentleman really went in and and continued, I mean, ad nauseum to try to persuade her to make a different decision. And I think what agents don't realize when something like that happens is that it's the agent you're attracting that stands to lose, not you. It is one agent. And sometimes it's a bigger team. I get that. But again, this is a long game about the company. It's about the culture. It's about how we show up. And so, yeah, that would be one. I would say, spam. It does happen. And I think the most important thing we can do is report them to the compliance department and move on, and just realize that you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. People are attracted to people. I said that before. So sometimes if a recruit has intentionally engaged two agents and it's basically interviewing who the right sponsor is, then you're going to lose sometimes. We do, and everybody will. So there's another million agents out there. So keep that in mind.
Thanks. That's really good advice. So final question for Bob as we wrap things up. So, we talk about agent attraction as being an awesome opportunity, and as the famous saying goes from the Spider-Man universe, with great power comes great responsibility. Bob, as a steward of the power of being able to attract agents, how do you help your personally sponsored agents who they themselves want to attract other agents and build the revenue share team? How do you help them to attract with integrity?
So for me, I don't make a distinction between my personal recruits versus my whole revenue share group. We get paid on the whole group. So to me, my responsibility is for all. I don't treat them any differently, to be quite honest, whether you're on my 7th tier and you're recruiting for the 8th, it doesn't matter to me because you're helping somebody on my 6th, 7th, 5th tier. So for me, I don't look at it that way. But what I would tell you is just like on a listing presentation or a buyer's presentation, I always call it the $1 million question. Why should somebody list with you instead of everybody else? Why should somebody buy with you? Well, why should somebody join you? And if you don't have a value proposition where it makes it attractive for people to be around you, that they know that you provide a level of service. So like, for example, in our revenue share group, we have 17 coaches, 4 are Tom Ferry coaches, one's a Club Wealth Mastermind coach. Well, they all donate 2 hours a week of their time. So we have 34 hours a week of personal coaching available to our agents. Well, that's attractive. And so you have to ask yourself, why would somebody want to join your group? So I agree 1,000% with Allison. It's happened to me too, and it will happen to all of us at some point. That's just the way it is. But I actually do feel bad going, wow, you don't even know what you missed out on with all the help and support and all the things that we do for our agents or with our agents, and that we make available to them. And so you have to ask yourself, what value prop do you bring? Why should somebody join you? We're seeing now, back in the old days, our license number is 1,003. So we're a little bit later than Allison, but certainly down there, right? Well, there was no lunch and learns. There was no, compliance. There was nothing. It was the wild, wild west, if you will. And so at the end of the day, over the years, we've been able to take and do this and build this responsibility in there and, make sure that we're providing value, because the truth is, guys, people are out there now shopping going, hey, I want to talk to 3 or 4 different people to see what group I'm best at being in. What's best for me? And you need to understand, you better have a good answer for that, right? Why me instead of the other agents? So at the end of the day, I just think that's our responsibility. If you want to grow something that's big and awesome, I've seen somebody say the company is the value prop. And while that's true, I don't necessarily agree with that. People join people. I think Allison already said that, right? So people are joining people. For me, I don't even talk about rev share. When I personally talk to an agent, I don't really talk about stock. I talk about learning. I talk about what their goal is, what they want to build, those things. I don't get into revenue share. And I think it was Jim who said it. I don't share numbers with them either because, chances are great they won't build exactly what we've built. So if you just come from it from that perspective, figure out what you can do to help them and then put tools and systems in place to help them, you'll grow something really big.
That's great, and thank you for your insights. We are up against our time limit, so once again, thank you to all of our panel members. You guys gave some great information, some great advice, some great guidelines, and just to our audience members joining us today, any questions that we weren't able to get to and answer, feel free to just email us, compliance@exprealty.net. reach out to myself, BoydBastian, Corey Haggard, Shani Payne, or Cindy Hanks through Workplace Chat. We're more than happy to set up a time to chat with you, to answer your questions, to discuss, attracting with integrity, being compliant, and so on. So thank you once again, everyone. We appreciate your attendance here today, and good luck with all of your business building efforts. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Rockstar compliance
Thank
team.
you. That was great. Wonderful.
Good luck, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Good job, babe.
Anybody looking for a good place to be, head over to the Young Professionals group. Our Director of Agent Success is actually moderating that one, and that's where we're heading. So if you need a place to go, go to the EXP breakout, track number 8.